Hey friends, Jeff here with a new episode of the My Impossible podcast. Today we welcome as a guest Henry De Villiers. Henry has very quickly become a friend, an amazing inspiration to me. And ironically, in his own words, I've become an inspiration to him. Henry is part of the team that is going to go up and help me get up Mount Kilimanjaro in September of 2025. Henry was born and raised outside of Kimberley, South Africa, migrated to the United States, and lives now in Northwest Texas, in Delhart, Texas, as a guy on a farm, harvesting and managing that whole process. Who Henry is to me is heart. And after you listen to this conversation and hear about Henry's impossible, it doesn't seem like that would be the word. But my experience of Henry is heart and resilience. And this is an amazing story of transformation. I think you're really going to enjoy this My Impossible conversation. Henry De Villiers, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to dive in. So hearty welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
So Henry, what is or was your impossible?
My impossible started when I was very young. I was out in the Kalahari Desert on a family farm, played on a Jeep, and fell backwards on the roll cage and hit my head extremely hard. Being as rural, there was obviously no hospitals around, and I acted fine. The bleeding wasn't bad, so my parents just, monitored me and made sure I was okay. Later on, as I grew up and going through a lot of struggles in my life, I've always felt that I'm very distant to emotions, and I don't feel emotions. And in, through reasoning and stuff, I figured out that it had to have something to do with that. And so when I say I don't feel emotions, is I feel something, but my brain doesn't make that connection. It doesn't tell me, okay, this is anger, this is love, this is, the main common deals, which, it's kind of hard to overcome because it makes you feel not like a human. Essentially, that makes you a psychopath if you want to be strict about it. So yeah, that is my possible, and it has been challenging all my life.
Take us into the story because you, as you said, you were very young. I can imagine as a kid growing up, you're figuring things out by yourself, without a traumatic brain injury, and now you add this into it. As you think back to your formative years, what was that like? What was, if you can recall, what were some of the things that would go through your mind about how you were feeling, or in as better said, not feeling?
Like I said, it was always a struggle. To give you an example, funerals, I couldn't cry at funerals, where, it's the normal thing for people to do when they're sad. And it's small stuff like that I noticed that I don't have that ability or capability of doing that, even if I, truly feel emotional. And like I said, it has been a struggle in my life because people perceive me as just a cold-hearted person automatically because I do not react the way they think I should react. Over the years, I figured out that rage is a very easy emotion to identify. just because how it makes me feel. And to me, rage feels almost like if you have low blood pressure, it just feels like your body just feels weird. That's what it feels like to me. And I mean, it's hard. I mean, I can honestly say I love people, but do I have that feeling? No, I don't. I don't know what that feels like.
Yeah. I'm I can't again imagine all that you went through in again the norm. We as boys growing up, we feel different, we feel separate, and then now this laid upon you, the confusing parts of that. I can't imagine. When I asked you to name your impossible, what was it you're impossible, but what about it felt impossible? Beyond not the absence of the feelings.
It just honestly feel impossible for me to truly understand one day what my emotions is. And it's I don't even have the words to explain it, honestly. I mean, it to me, it feels impossible. But then again, I also live my life where fear and all that stuff is vacant, is away from me. So it's hard for me to really say, yeah, this is something that's impossible, or this is something I'm fearful of, because I'm incapable of feeling that.
So take us again to this, whether it be a single moment or a period of time when it felt the most, again, we use the word impossible here, but when it felt most like this is stopping me in my life.
I would say the older I got, the better it got. And here recently, about 4 years ago, I weighed 300 pounds. And I just didn't have the willpower to do anything about it. I mean, all my life, it's just the jobs I was in, just keep going. And I just felt like I can lose this weight. Because I don't know how to fix what is broken inside of me. I mean, the mental stuff, not just the life stuff. And I mean, I just felt like I couldn't get over that hump. Mm-hmm. And, and it still feels to me like that some days, that I just can't get over the hump to fix myself or to work on myself, which has been getting better. The older I get, I think the less I focus on it, and that's probably what makes it a lot better.
And what was the moment, or again, it may not be a singular moment, but what was that time period when you decided, I'm going to take this on? It feels impossible. I don't know how to get how I'm feeling, get through that, how I'm feeling, how I am physically with your weight. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I'm going to take this on.
It was probably when I was, would have been right when I was 39. I just woke up one day hurting, and, I can't barely move, and I already had knee problems and everything. And I just said, today is it. It's enough. No more. I'm going to try, give it baby steps and see how it goes. And it went from baby steps to bigger steps to leaps. And at a moment, my people around me called me insane, because I just went with it and just kept going, putting in the work and doing all the crazy stuff I can get my hands to do. So that's where it all changed.
Was there a specific catalyst? Again, the you lived life in with the absence of a sensitivity to feelings, as you describe. What on that day when you were 39 years old and you said, "This is it," was there a catalyst around that time that maybe even sparked the idea that something different was possible?
I've noticed that I was pushing people away because I don't know how to react to them, for one. I don't know what to give them. I wanted to give them something because, everybody deserves love or compassion, all that stuff. And that was part of the reason is I felt like I was pushing too many people out of my life and I was losing way more people than it was worth. And at the end of the day, if you push everybody away around you, you're going to be alone the rest of your life. You won't have friends, you won't have family. And that led me to make my decision is either I can keep going like I'm doing and I'll probably die in 10 years from being overweight, being pre-diabetic, and not living, just abusing my body. And then, or I can slow down and try to make changes and try to grow as I change. And I'm glad I made a decision because it ultimately has changed my life.
Do you remember because you said the words you used is step by step, baby step by baby step. Do you remember the first baby step you took?
The first baby step is I tried to be a nicer person for a week or a month for that matter. And I, downloaded an exercise program. And I remember when I was younger and I used to be physically fit and going the whole time, I felt better. So I started exercising and just little exercises here and there just to kind of get strength back up and lose a little bit of weight. And it just, like I said, it just kept growing and growing and growing.
So I shared it in the introduction of the show about how you and I know each other. So it feels to me as I'm listening to you an amazing leap, not from what you just described, the baby step, to now climbing Mount Kilimanjaro next year with me and the team, but everything that you do these days and traveling all over the country, engaged with Spartan and More Heart Than Scars. So give us a picture of that journey from what you just described at age 39 to who you are today. Tell us more about that journey.
I was laying one night on the couch, just scrolling through YouTube and came upon a Spartan race. And I said, you know what, if I lose all this weight, that is my goal. Do a 5K sprint and, that'll be my ultimate. I don't think I can rise more than that. And I signed up for my first one in Las Vegas last year. I just got done losing roughly about 70 pounds. And they sent out an email that said, join this first-time racer call that Spartan hosts. So I said, you know what? I don't know what I'm getting into, so I might as well just, join the call and learn. And that got me in connection with Dan McDonald. He's the number 2 in Spartan world. And everybody that knows Dan knows that he is one of the best humans in this world. I love him to death, and he knows I love him to death. And it started doing. I did a few calls before the race. I did a race, and I came back and I told them how the race went and all that stuff. And then, I figured, they putting all this work in, I might as well support them. So I just kept going to the call, and then I met Vince. It's also on the team with us. And, that relationship grew. And the more I got involved in doing Spartans, because my second one was then in Colorado in June last year, I decided, why don't become a brand ambassador for them? So I applied for that. And that's a whole different community that kind of uplifts each other. And that's another thing about Spartan is it's very uplifting. You do not have people that will not just do it just to do it. I mean, everybody supports everybody there, and it is just a great community to be a part of. So I decided, well, one day I contacted Dan. I said, I've seen this group, Oscar Mike, over at Colorado. What can I do to become a part of them, to help veterans or people in wheelchairs to get through this? He said, okay, well, let me get you in contact with a guy. So Joey, he got me in contact with Joey, and I emailed him, and he replied back real fast. He said, okay, I'm doing Dallas. We're taking a lady in a wheelchair through the Beast, which is the 21K. And that race is truly the race that I would say was my epiphany, one of my epiphanies that changed my life. It was a very brutal heat-wise and terrain-wise for wheelchair. We started up with a good team, and we just started losing people because of the terrain and because of the heat. And we just kept going. And the Julie, I can say her name, she was the athlete. Just the joy in her face when she finished that changed my life. Because then I really realized this is where I need to be. I may not feel emotions, but I can recognize emotions in people. And to me, I always call it my curse, but it is really a gift. And I see people's pain before they even tell me that. I mean, very rarely am I wrong about somebody's trauma, because it's hard to explain it for me. It's just a feeling I get. It's like a sixth sense, but just the ability to see all of that, and then have the ability to help somebody like that through a course and see the joy that I don't feel, but I can feel it through them, seeing them accomplishing their goal. So yeah, and then from there we went to World's Toughest Mudder, which is 24-hour race. We did another veteran wave in Florida, and I was hooked. I mean, this became an addiction to me, and I just put everything I had into it and just kept growing until ultimately I did the Spartan Death Race this past June, and that was the most recent life-changing event I did in my life, because it really made me realize a few things about myself and made me look at things a little bit different.
Tell us.
So on that, to go into detail, we did a lot of physical activity beforehand, and the goal of the Spartan race is, what they tell you is they want to see if they can get you to quit in the first few hours. So it's very, very tough. There's a lot of exercising, a lot of tasks, a lot of mental, a lot of, sleep deprivation. So you kind of essentially, they break you down to your core human being, where no matter what walls you put up, no matter what you show the world, when you're that tired, you can't keep up with everything. So that's really when you are at your most vulnerable and your weakest. And to make a long story short, my legs started giving out, just like it did in Colorado. And I was in physically excruciating pain from, exercising and then cooling down, exercising, cooling down. So it was about 12, I would say, at night, the Friday night, we went up the mountain behind Joe's farm. And it took me forever to get up there. But I had two of the leaders for the Cryptea that went up there with me and a medic. And they kept pushing me to get up there. And, when we finally get up in the mountain, all you saw was red headlights and darkness. The rest was just everybody with their red headlights sitting down. And then Andy Hardy, which is the director for the extreme endurance events, she gave us a speech about how to become better humans. And sitting there, that just totally, for a nice word of it, killed my soul. because that's why I also realized too, is all the stuff, all the bad I've done in my life, all the good I've done in my life, I need to change for the best and not for the worse. And that is Andy's motto, if you want to say that, is always be better, be a better human. And we went down and we did a few more physical activities. And finally, I got to a point where I couldn't walk anymore. I couldn't carry the weight that was on me. So I said, okay, this is enough. Before I hurt something, I'm done. And as soon as I saw Emilia, one of our team members, and then Andy, I totally lost it. And it was 42 years worth of emotions that just spilled out of me. And I scared myself how bad it was. But that was, that changed my life, I would say, for the better. And that made me realize I need to strive even more to be a better human and be there for other people that need somebody like that.
What do you, maybe you know the answer to this question, or maybe you could just make a guess. What did those tears, the flood of tears, represent for you?
For me, that it is because I'm always hard on myself, and I always feel like I'm a bad human for not having all the emotions. To me, it felt like that all that pain left me at that moment. It's almost like, if you want a good analogy, is if you ever watched the movie Green Mile, after that guy, would take away the people's pain, he would, blow it out in the air. And that's what it felt like to me, is just getting rid of all my pain, all my happiness, everything, just at once. And it was almost like I was reborn. And I would suggest people go do that. It's an experience by itself. They give you a plastic skull at the end. And really, it's not about that skull. It's about finding yourself on that mountain or in that whole process. And that's the nice thing about it, is they help you find yourself, and then they help you build yourself back up.
I mean, we're talking what, July, August, September. I mean, we're talking 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And maybe it's still too fresh, but what has been the difference since that experience?
Without going into much detail, I'm still busy with this process. I am getting my SGX certification, which is a Spartan coach. And then I'm going to work with certain groups that I feel there's a need in a Spartan community. And my biggest goal is going to be to, like Morad and Scars, help them through hurricanes. And, even ultimately taking them through a death race. And showing them that no matter what your problem is, you can do more than you think you can. And you can become a human, or you can fix all your own faults. So,
yeah. What's the name of your dog?
This one is Bingo.
Bingo.
She's a Weimaraner.
Awesome. I love that we have her as a guest on the show. That's great. Henri, I am deeply moved by your story. You've shared your story with me, parts of it, and today I'm really moved and inspired. What is your hope in sharing your story and your experience, especially over the last few years? What do you hope for people to hear and to take away from hearing your story?
I want people to know that it is always better. And I want to help change people's lives. Like my life has changed by people like Dan McDonald and Andy and Joey and all the adaptive athletes I've worked with. uh, you know, those are all my inspirations. And I mean, even you, when we crossed the finish lines in Colorado, that is also a special moment to me. So ultimately, Kilimanjaro has always been on my bucket list as a little young kid looking through National Geographic, to give you an inch. And I lived in Africa. So, I mean, that I could have easily gone there, but I never had a chance. And so this is my mountain to climb next year too, with y'all.
It's awesome. It's awesome. You are a gift. You're a gift to me, and far beyond your strength and your ability to pull the chair. You're a real gift, Henry, and I'm so grateful that you came on the show to share your story. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.